Alright everyone, Supreme Kami over here, so it is time to look at March edition of the Welfare reruns over here. So we have ourselves the Extreme Gundam, Blue Destiny Unit 2, I believe, let me see. Yes, so Blue Destiny Unit 2 as well as Saku Amazing over here. So I will do a separate video to talk about their individual EX skills. So this time around we are simply focusing on low battery. Yeah, so this time around we are only focusing on what kind of like how good the portrait are. Stat wise, I'm not too concerned about those because simply we just want to see how good of the with alteration how good they can be. So my recommendation for you guys is do pick up a copy of the full set, for example, because this is like the first time having like a rerun, so we don't know what kind of timeline we're looking at in terms of having a second rerun. So if you're not going to pick up any of these parts, for example, I don't know if we will ever get those back. So that is going to be my only recommendation right now. So if we talk about whether or not to alter anything yet, let's jump in and see what we are looking at so far. So EX skill for this one is only 2, and we got the sheet right here. So this is the extreme tension right here. So I think this EX skill is quite good. Actually, it is awakenable EX skill that comes with a healing. So we'll talk about that towards the end. But let's start from the head right now. So the head stat, this stat is just not doing it honestly. But the portrait is definitely for sure doing it. So this one with Saber category, shooting power boost by 25%, so that's quite good. So when beam resistance is under 15,000, initial charge speed boosted by 20%. So this one, I would consider this one still a very good addition, to be honest, because in terms of getting high beam resistance, that is quite unusual to have. Like if you're talking about my build, I can show you guys my build, and I barely rack up to 1500 or 15,000. Like this build barely does it because I'm using high firepower as the 4-star gear. And then you're talking about these right here. This is like a normal shooting base unit, and I am roughly below that, almost below that. So in terms of beam resistance, I don't see that being like an extremely high amount number there. So I will personally do feel like that is still a very good addition, because I feel like for anyone that is using it, is probably don't have the best box yet. Don't even have any of those like newer, like don't have as much 7-star parts as like the top spender or me or some other people within the community. So I feel like the head part is definitely the solid charts to be picking for this batch. So this one is going to be my first recommendation for the Extreme Gundam. So moving on to the chest right here. So the chest is actually good and bad. Like this chest right here, gosh man, I don't know why they have a Gundam tail. Like who made this right here? Like, oh wow, they could have put close combat honestly. The first portrait is very good because this is giving those above EX effects. So those are the portraits that I generally suggest, like, oh, these are like definitely one of the better portraits you're looking at. But man, the condition under Gundam type, I don't know, man. Like this is rough, like, because Gundam type is not really like a main priority war tech for like a melee build. So you can run it, right? There's so many parts that supports it, or so many melee build that will want to run it, but it's just not gonna give you the highest stats. So wow, this is a shaft, man. They couldn't make this a close combat. Like I don't know what they're planning for this one, but this one I still think is a really solid addition to your box, because you are getting that buff EX effect. So that is nonetheless still a very good condition. But whether or not you want to alterate it, I don't think it's just having this on Gundam type makes me want not to go for it. But nonetheless, the first portrait is very good, so maybe you don't need to alterate it. Maybe you just want a few copies of it and just for have it as a collection. But overall, the chest is good, but the alteration is definitely not doing it for me, unfortunately. This one don't really need the alteration because or this one don't even need really to focus on, because this one, the first portrait is already giving that melee power boosting. Second and third portrait is kind of like not even there. You can just kind of ignore that. Stat of this one is just kind of so bad. Like this one is purely for like a shooting base tag right there. So this is simply the one you just want to get one copy and you're done. Don't even try to get this up to like a level 10, for example. You can definitely, right? But in terms of actually grinding all those parts for this week, yeah, it's gonna be a little bit tough. So that's why if you do get the full set, like let's say from head to the backpack, that should be fine. All right, moving on to the legs. So what do we have right here? So before 60 seconds passes, so EX or enemy melee power reduced by 25%, and then outrider EX skill piercing boost by 28%. This one is simply going to be another one that you just want to get one copy and call it a day, because secondary portrait is not that good. First portrait is going to be one of those like enemy power reduction type. It's good if anyone is trying to stack out on a lot of these like reduction type trait, but that is like a very steep investment, and at the end of the day it's not going to be the most like effective build in this game. So tank build are just for fun actually, like in terms of actually using it for realsies, like not really that effective in a way. So this one just get one copy and pretty much it. So yeah, moving on to the backpack right now. So backpack is going to be a very generic EX skill, yeah, a double saber rush. So I will do a separate video doing the EX skill showcase for these. Like I know it's not going to be the most impressive, and can I even alterate this? Yeah, I can alterate, yeah. I will probably alterate all of them. So I'll give you guys a good comparison of like prior to alteration and after alteration, and see what we're looking like in terms of power wise. So right, beam saber over here. So okay, so this one is this one is not only strong melee attack. No, just get the beam saber and call it a day. Don't let me try, like you don't even need to farm up to level 10. No, this one is not doing it. Nope. All right, moving on to beam rifles. So this one is a beam. So the condition is a beam ranged weapon over here. A reload speed boosted by 15%. So this one is what should we call it? So this one is only your normal attack. So that bar below, you guys see below your HP whatsoever, I think it's right beneath your HP. So basically that just get recharged a little bit faster. And then this one is same thing again. So this one is only targeting your beam ranged weapon. So not talking about your actual EX skill like the magazine type. So this one is only allowing you to get more rounds for your actual normal attack. So not the most effective part trait. So we can skip that as well. Alright, tensional, the extreme tension. So this one is a fairly decent EX skill to be running, because you are getting some health recovery. You also get some melee and shot. So I want to compare what is it prior to alteration, because if it's not that impressive, you can just simply say don't need to. Oh, interesting. So they actually give you a split off. So that's actually, I mean, like it's only 10% more for a shot. So I'm not gonna say it's like any big like major improvement, but if you are getting a more shot attack, it's good actually. I wouldn't deny the fact that it's not that good, but if you just farm up like basically this one having it, what is that base level 1 actually? I just want to know real quick. So base level 1 you're looking at, that is still fairly solid. So shot attack is basically if you don't farm up to max level 10, per se, you're still 1% more than the unaltered version, because this one is starting out at 20% already, instead of like, I'm pretty sure it should be 10 for the initial one. So this one is more or less like a judgment call for on your own. 10% to 19 is only 9%, and then this one is not really like that major increase per se. This one simply, if you can trigger some buffy skill effects portrait, they'll definitely get you rolling instead of just having this one. But nonetheless, this one is still a very solid pickup. So I think overall I will only recommend the head part and then the shield. Those are probably what I would recommend. So moving on to the blue destiny. So this one, what do we have right here? So this one I personally would not recommend alterating these one over here, because we simply have better iteration. So this one is going to be actually an awakenable EX skill. So if you're talking about chaining EX skill to something like, I don't know, let's say you want to chain this to like a I don't know, double quanta full saber EX skill. So that one is a Trans Am. So I think the question is pretty self-explanatory. Can you actually use exam system and Trans Am at the same time? The simple answer is no. So that's why in terms of how it reacts in game, they would cancel out the buffs. So this one you're getting a 40%. Once you activate the full saber EX skill, that gets this portion gets deleted and gets overridden by the full saber EX skill. So that's why these are generally not the best one to be running unless you're pairing up with EXQ that are non-awakenable. So like Bicep, for example, like what are some other ones that are not awakenable? I'm pretty sure there's definitely more, but I just can't think of it on top of my head right now. But generally, these are not really that good for alteration either, just for using it. This one's gonna be the Abdominal wired missile. This hits hard. I remember like many months ago when we had the battle circuit, we were facing up against the Blue Destiny 2 and we got hit hard, like literally every shot. This one doesn't really have like the best tracking, but it can kind of get to you. Like if you are in like a semi-close proximity, I think this one does actually curve, like actually guide you. I could be wrong, so that's why I'll be doing a revisit, just actually testing out. So this one I'll also do like a pre-alteration and alteration to see what kind of damage we are going to be looking at max level 10. But otherwise, don't really need to alterate it because you are sitting at, I believe it should be sitting at B power prior to alteration. Yeah, so B plus, so you are definitely going to gain a little bit more power to it, but how significant is it? That is the question. This one right here is okay, all right. This one is fairly decent enough for your attack attribute. So melee power boost by 30%, but the first portrait is already bad. So I'm not gonna say this one is like the top of the list that you need to focus on, but something you might kind of consider if you need something. All right, like EXQ, we have another one of these beam saber combos. So this one is like kind of it is what it is kind of situation. So I'm like I wouldn't even bother altering it honestly because of how the EXQ actually performs. So E plus to A minus, so that's actually a fairly substantial increase as well again. So simply just raising the power modifier, I guess. So I'm like, I don't really have much to say about the EXQ. It's just like a personal preference whether you guys want that or not. Ooh, wow, okay, so this one is actually not bad. So this one is giving you like EXQ cooldown reduced by 20% for your attack attribute specifically. So this one is quite good. For a cooldown reduction type build, this is definitely a solid option, for example. So definitely something you might want to pick out if you don't have any other options, for say. Not bad, actually, not bad. Right, rifle right here. So when two enemy is shot down, job gauge increased by 13%. So this simply means like whatever reload speed for your job gauge is gonna get increased by 13%, for example. So simply is that. So when buffed, the EXQ power boost by 30%. So you would have to use some kind of buffer like this one over here. So when you activate that, you can trigger this portion of the EXQ or the portrait. This one is like a hit or miss, honestly, because first portrait is already bad, but the secondary portrait 30% is a fairly good option. But I don't know, like it's hard, it's good, but it's just not good at the same time given what we are looking at right here. But yeah, so let's say if you guys don't have any good option, then maybe go for it. It's like a very like edgy maybe, because like there's simply just a lot more better options out there in terms of even warfare selection. So I don't know if that is like the right call. But anyways, just trying to pick up one copy of the Gundam first, not the range, like not the weaponry. You should be good. But yeah, that one just like a really like just any of those that comes with like a good power boosting, then it's slap on like a pretty bad first portrait. Those are hard to say whether or not you need or not, because like simply they're bad, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say yeah they're pretty solid, go alterate them. They're just not really worth the time to grind it up actually. So this one, yeah, this one's bad. So this one is only for strong melee power, so only one hint of like how many combo hit you're looking at gets that reduction. So no, we're not doing that here. So I think overall maybe the backpack is like the solid option to alterate. Even let's say the beam rifle is just not that top tier actually for a welfare. Nah, not really in the case. So moving over to the Psycho Amazing. So we do have a lot of EXQ for this one, so that's actually something we can definitely test out. So what are we doing here? Okay, so this one is only specifically in computer category. So I think this is just simply another paraphrase of like like for computer war tech. Once you do have that active, then you gain that. So for computer, I am not gonna say it's the worst condition nowadays, because we have gotten so many units from the Build Fighter series, like the Build Divers, the Build Divers Re-Rise. They have a lot of unit that does come with for computer war tech. So it's still not going to be the most optimal build, obviously, but you can definitely say you can use it for say. So that is definitely something important right there. First portrait is going to be not there actually, because activating, let's say the cycle type is just not really that just not that good of a war tech overall. But this one I would not sleep on it, but it's just a very niche option, so not gonna be like a main priority, but definitely something you guys could be looking out for if you guys do need something right there. So moving on to the chest. Ooh, wow. So this one is pumping out another EXQ reduced by 20% when you have heavy armor. So heavy armor is again one of those very niche option of whether or not you want to run that or not. So you are given a choice of having a CD reduced with there, so that's actually good. So I think the recommendation is definitely to see if you have it already. If you have it, simply alterate it and you can kind of get that benefit. But despite that, it does have like one of the premium like CD reduction trait. But it's just like, how often do you even run heavy armor? So that is definitely the question you want to ask yourself. Can you run heavy armor? If you can, definitely alterate it. If you cannot really force a build for that, don't. There's definitely a lot more options, but this one is just something you want to keep in the back of your mind, like, can you use it? So if you can use it, definitely alterate it. If you cannot, simply don't even like form of the copy, like one copy of it, but don't go in ham to form with that level 10 portrait. So alright, moving on to the armor, see what we have here. So the first portrait was really good. Second 3 portrait just kind of ruined it, so we're not even gonna talk about that. So this one is simply the stat of this one is just too low. Like, I wouldn't even use it. Like, what is that stat right there? Yeah, it's just not good overall. Like, you may have a power boosting, like a melee power boosting, but just what is this, man? Like, what stat are we looking at nowadays? Oh my gosh. Alright, EXQ is going to be self-explanatory, so these are just going to be like a regular, like jumping up to a B+ power. So I'll definitely give you guys like a more detail of like what kind of damage output we can be looking at, and talk about what kind of range these one has, because these are more like a shooting base EXQ, so obviously. So we'll definitely want to see what kind of range we can get from them, and what kind of animation they can do. So this one is going to be a heat rush over here, so B- power is a very shy area to be in, because like you're just not hitting hard at all. Like, you can be a max out level 10. Oh, I don't even have this one max out. So D power is the original power right there. So this one should sit at, yeah, so this is one of those you would have to alterate if you so choose to use it. But I believe the heat rush is a very short range because of how you're using the B Nata right here, so you're not getting any good range. You will most likely get knocked out from the EXQs, so I wouldn't really like go for that, for example. So yeah. Alright, moving on to what do we have here? The long rifle, and that's it. Long rifle over here, so you're getting a shooting power boost by 30%, and then when all 3 gunpla and squad are power attribute, squad shooting damage output by 300. So a flat out number by 300 is obviously not the most soundful thing in the world, because in general percentage boosting is definitely the way to go. So 300 per base is actually not even that great. These in terms of these, I believe how they actually works is per hit. So if you talk about, let's say, per round, so let's say you activate an EXQ that shoots in burst, for example, then per hit during that burst, for like, let's say that burst covers like 10 hit, for example, so all those 10 of that hit will gain an additional 300 attached onto them. I think that's how that works. So definitely if you're only doing like a singular attack, like a straight beam, first, even a straight beam actually does come with multiple, so you can definitely gain that benefit. But overall, flat 300 is not cutting it. Percentage is just going to be a lot more better, so this one is a hot skip for sure. A long range category does not really have that best of a sub slot, for example, so I would say this is pretty much going to be one you want to drop and don't really need it, simply for the collection purposes, and that should be pretty much it. So I think overall, as we went down to the list from like Extreme Gundam all the way to Saku Amazing, there's just not really that many like eye-catching portraits to be looking at. I think the most impressive one definitely having some cooldown reduced right there. I think those are probably really good, but other than that, all the other ones just kind of like There's that is definitely not making up like for whatever part they were looking at. Like the chest for this one right here, the Psycho Amazing was bad. Like, whoa. Like even the portrait can be good, but the stat is just not cutting it. So that being said, that's gonna be pretty much it in terms of the March edition of the Welfare Rerun with Alteration. So up next, I'll definitely give you guys a more detailed in terms of what the EX skill can do prior to Alteration and then after Alteration, so you guys can get a better idea of like whether or not you want to let's say get them up to EX skill level 10 and then potentially altering the part later down the road. So with that being said, that's gonna be pretty much it, and then I'll catch you guys all on the next one.